Alena. Why did Jesus die on the cross?
I don't know. Why did Jesus die on the cross?
To erase our really big mistakes.
That was funny, Miss Sherrie. Hey guys, welcome to what week is it? It's right there. Week 4! Week 4 of Worship at Home with Blast Jr., okay? Real quick, before we get started, I want to give some shout outs. Thank you, Hattie, for sending us that picture.
And thank you, Lacey. Also, we love getting messages and pictures from you guys. Keep it up. Also, I want to show you in Right Now Media, one of our apps we were talking about earlier in the month, you can watch the Easter story. There's a lot of great kids videos on here. So tell your parents to download Right Now Media and you could find a lot of great videos.
There are. Okay, so we have some fun things planned today. We're going to do some worship. We've got a new song, This Little Light of Mine. I know everyone knows it. We sing it all the time. And then this is our last week of Books of the Bible. So if you have been memorizing your Books of the Bible, send us a video.
I can't wait.
I can't either, okay? And then we have a really fun Bible story this week. We know what happened last week. Jesus was on the cross, then he died. But what happens after he dies? We're going to talk about that in Bible story today. Okay, guys, so let's go sing.
Okay, boys and girls, everybody stand up and join us for This Little Light of Mine. You know this song.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Clap with us.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua and Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, and Job, Psalms, Proverbs, and Ecclesiastes. Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, and Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, and Obadiah. Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. That is the OT. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua and Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, and Job, Psalms, Proverbs, and Ecclesiastes. Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, and Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, and Obadiah. Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. That is the OT. Alright, now let's do the new. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Acts, Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, and Colossians. 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus, Philemon, Hebrews, and James, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, Jude, and Revelation. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Acts, Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, and Colossians. 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus, Philemon, Hebrews, and James, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, Jude, and Revelation, Jude, and Revelation.
Our Bible story this week comes from the New Testament, Matthew 28 and Luke 24 and 36 through 40. So last week, we learned a man named Joseph wrapped Jesus' body in linen and buried him in a tomb. A tomb is like a cave. A large stone was rolled in front of the tomb, and guards were there to make sure no one could steal Jesus' body and say he was alive again. Do any of you remember what happened 3 days after Jesus was buried? What was it? Yes, his friends Mary and Mary Magdalene came to the tomb. And what did they discover when they arrived at the tomb? That's right, you got it. They learned the tomb was empty and Jesus was not there. Do any of you remember who was there? Yes, an angel. And the angel told the ladies not to be afraid and that Jesus had risen. How do you think Jesus' friends felt? They were full of joy. The angel then told them to hurry back and tell the other disciples, and that's exactly what they did. As they ran to tell the disciples what they had seen, a man met them on the road. It was Jesus. He told them not to be afraid and to tell the others what they had seen. How do you think you would feel if you knew your friend was dead and then you found out he or she was alive again? When Mary and Mary Magdalene found the disciples, they shared what they had seen. But the disciples did not believe them. They thought the women were making up a story. Peter decided he needed to go see for himself. He ran to the tomb and looked inside. He saw the same linens the woman had seen. They were folded up and Jesus was not there. Peter was confused and didn't know what to believe. He had seen Jesus die. Peter went back to the other disciples and told them the tomb was empty. The disciples became afraid and hid in a room as they tried to figure out what had happened to their friend. Suddenly, Jesus appeared in the room. He told them not to be afraid. It was really him. He showed the disciples the holes in his hands and feet where the nails had been. He let them touch him. He had real skin and real bones. The disciples knew Jesus was really alive. Can you show me how excited you would be? Yes, you would probably jump up and down. That's right. Go ahead and jump up and down 3 times. They knew Jesus is the risen King.
Okay, guys, that was a great Bible story, but I think me and Miss Sherrie need some help. We forgot some parts of the Bible story. There are certain objects on the table, and we can't remember with what they were doing in the Bible story. Okay, so we're going to ask some questions, and if you know the answer, just point to it, okay? So help us out and point to it. We have several objects up here, okay? Okay, Miss Sherrie, I can't remember when in the Bible story, Joseph of Arimathea, he asked Pontius Pilate if he could remove Jesus' body from what? What was Jesus' body laying on?
Boys and girls, do you remember? What was Jesus up on?
Let's see. We have some gloves. Do you think Jesus' body was on some gloves?
How about a lock? Do you think it was on a lock?
Do you think it's on this? What is this, boys and girls?
The cross, yes.
Yes, Jesus' body was hanging on the cross. Now I remember.
That's right.
Thank you guys for helping me out. Kind of forgot that.
Now, there was another part of the story that Joseph went and wrapped Jesus's body in something. What did he wrap Jesus's body in? Could it have been the gloves?
Yes.
The gloves?
That's
so
it.
he kind of just wrapped them in gloves. Is that, boys and girls? Was that it?
Does that sound right?
I don't think so either.
What else is on our table here?
The linen. Yes.
Ooh, that's something you can wrap a body in.
You guys are very good. I'm glad you've been listening to the story.
All right. Oh, also, Mary Magdalene and her friends went to the tomb, and they brought Jesus something. They were bringing him like a gift, something that smelled nice.
Him. Mm-hmm. And it smelled really good.
What smells nice on our table? Do you see something that might smell nice?
I don't think it's going to be the gloves.
I don't think so either.
No. Boys and girls, do you know what is something up here that would smell nice that Mary was bringing to put on Jesus? That's right. It was the bottle of perfume. Very good.
Perfume smells nice.
It does.
And this one has pretty flower on it. Perfect for anointing Jesus' body with. All right, next question.
Mary was walking down the street and saw a man standing there and thought he was what? It was really Jesus, but at first she just started talking to him because she just thought he was
maybe a police officer? Does that sound right? No. How about a basketball player?
Oh.
Was it a basketball player?
That sounds fun.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like they'd be in a garden.
No. What would we use in the garden, boys and girls? Is there something up here you see that we would use in the garden?
Yes, we'd use gloves. We'd use gloves to help plant.
Oh, those look nice.
They do.
I like those gloves.
But who uses gloves in a garden?
That's right, a gardener. Mary thought Jesus was a gardener. Was he the gardener?
No. He was Jesus.
That's right. How amazing.
All right. Ooh, I can't remember. When Jesus appeared to the disciples, they were in a what room?
Escape room.
No, Miss Sherrie, they weren't in an escape room.
No, that's right. They were hiding. They were hiding because they were scared. What kind of room was it? And then suddenly, Jesus appeared somehow. They didn't know how because it was, I think this is their clue.
A locked room. That's right. When you turn your key into the door and you lock a door.
That's right. Jesus appeared in the locked room with the disciples. I bet they were so excited to see him. Could everyone give me a big cheer and show me how excited you would be if you saw Jesus?
Yay! So happy.
Yay.
Big smileys.
Yay. All right. Very good, boys and girls. Well, we have a great video to show you. And we want you to see if you can find these objects in the video you're about to see. Kind of like a hide and seek with these objects. So
find the gloves, find the perfume bottle, and find the cross. I bet this one's going to be easy. Okay.
Yes.
After hanging in agony on the cross for hours, Jesus cried out, "It is finished," and he surrendered his spirit to God. Despite his sadness, Joseph of Arimathea, a man who was secretly a disciple of Jesus, knew that to ensure Jesus had a proper burial, he had to do it before the quickly approaching Sabbath. Grief-stricken, Joseph went before Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, to ask if he could remove Jesus' body from the cross. After Pilate gave him permission, he and Nicodemus went to the cross with a large amount of myrrh and aloes to anoint Jesus' body for burial. Together, Joseph and Nicodemus carefully wrapped Jesus' body in strips of linen with burial spices in accordance with Jewish tradition. Near the place where Jesus was crucified, there was a garden where a tomb had been cut out of the rock, something only wealthy people could afford. This tomb belonged to Joseph, and no one had yet been laid to rest there. It was in this tomb that Joseph and Nicodemus laid the body of Jesus. Before they left, they rolled an enormous stone in front of the tomb's entrance, sealing it shut. Before the sun had risen on Sunday morning, Mary Magdalene gathered the spices and perfumes she had prepared to complete the burial customs for Jesus and made her way to the tomb. When she arrived, she discovered the giant stone had been rolled away, and the tomb was empty. Deeply distressed by what she had seen, she ran as fast as she could to tell the disciples Peter and John what had happened. "They've taken our Lord's body, and we don't know where," Mary exclaimed. After hearing Mary's account, Peter and John sprinted to the tomb. John arrived first, but he did not enter the tomb. Without hesitation, Peter walked into the tomb and noticed that the strips of linen that Jesus had been wrapped up in were laying empty in a pile, and the burial cloth that was placed over his head and face was neatly folded next to them. As John entered the empty tomb, he didn't fully understand what had happened, but he believed that Jesus had risen from the dead. Puzzled by what they had seen, Peter and John returned to their homes. Too upset to return home with Peter and John, Mary Magdalene remained at the empty tomb. As she wept, she looked up through her tears into the tomb, and she saw two angels in dazzling white robes. They were sitting where Jesus' body had been, one at the head and one at the foot. Seeing Mary's tears, the angels asked, "Woman, why are you crying?" Still sobbing, Mary replied, "They have taken my Lord away, and I don't know where they have put him." As Mary turned away from the angels to make her way home, she saw a man had been standing behind her. But this was no ordinary man. It was Jesus. Somehow Mary did not recognize Jesus. She thought he was the gardener. Jesus asked Mary, "Why are you crying? Who are you looking for?" Mary, still thinking he was the gardener, begged him, "If you have taken him away, please tell me where so I can get him." Then Jesus called Mary's name, and suddenly she recognized that the man was Jesus. She exclaimed, "Teacher," and fell to her knees to worship at his feet. Jesus told Mary to go tell the disciples. After hearing Mary's report of what happened at the tomb and that she had seen Jesus, the disciples gathered together behind locked doors, afraid of what the Jewish leaders might do to them. Suddenly Jesus appeared among them in the locked house and said, "Peace to you." The disciples were overjoyed to see Jesus with their own eyes. After Jesus had shown them the wounds in his hands and his side, he told the disciples that they would continue his mission, going throughout the world and preaching God's love.